Hello and welcome back to the Bottom Bins. Welcome back to the Bottom Bins, not the Bottom Bins podcast anymore, just the Bottom Bins. You're joined today by myself, Richie, and by Oran. Oran, how's things, mate?
All good, buddy. How are you?
Look, just excited to get started, lad. Excited to go on this new venture. Look, if some of you do follow our socials, you will have seen over the last couple of weeks that there has been so much content pumped out there, particularly on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. So if you aren't following any of those platforms, before we even begin this episode, can you please head over to Instagram, please head over to Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it might be, hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button, because I promise you guys, there is so much football content coming your way at the minute that it's actually... Well, to be honest, Oren, and I think you'd agree with me, it's actually been really, really fun to be revitalised and to go back into it again.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And if I'm being honest, if there's any platform I want you to go and look at, it's Instagram. Instagram's probably where we're doing the majority of our content. You know, there's potentially a few prize givings and all coming in the way there. We're seeing a big growth on Instagram, and we're going to try and capitalise on that. So if I was to stick to any platform at the minute, I'd be choosing Instagram.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more, lad. And I'm sure if some of you have been following us and if some of you have been checking out the socials, you will have noticed a few new faces. So myself and Oren are happy to introduce you to some of our brand new guest hosts that are going to be joining the Bottom Bins channels. So we have my own brother, Oisín. A lot of you might know Oisín. You might have heard the episode we did roughly around sort of 14, 15 months ago, where myself and Oisín talked about Spurs a little bit. And then we did one just last summer about Spurs heading into last season. So Oisín's coming on. We also have Stevie Kennedy coming on. Stevie's a massive Liverpool fan, a good friend of myself and Oran, and he's always sort of wanted the opportunity to jump on and maybe give something like this a go. If you followed, again, any of our socials, you will have seen Stevie's face in the past, particularly when doing debates about Liverpool. And we have a returning face as well. We have Owen coming back on the podcast as well. I keep saying podcast. Owen's coming back on the channel as well. So again, if you listen to our early content, you know exactly who Owen is. Massive Celtic fan, but offers a different opinion to what the rest of us might offer. And of course then, Connor's coming back as well. Connor never left. Connor stays with us too. So you have 3 Man United fans now, a Spurs fan, a Liverpool fan, a Celtic fan. So look, hopefully the opinions are going to be a wee bit more spread out. We took on some of your constructive criticism, and I think, Owen, that was probably the constructive criticism that was levelled at us the most, was just that we were probably becoming too Man United centric.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And look, as Connor said, you know, it's going to take us a while to move away from the podcast element and become a YouTube channel, become a football channel. But the content we have planned, you know, we're moving away. We're not doing match reviews anymore. You might have seen our post a few months back whenever we decided to take our break and revitalise and come back with fresh ideas. No more match reviews. We're going to be talking about topics in football, current topics in football, and that's what we've been posting on our Instagram, on all our socials. You know, we short videos of current things that are happening, with transfer updates near enough every other day, with memes going up that are doing really well, you know, stuff about the Euros, everything that's current and happening now, we're getting it out for you, fresh content, so it's not coming on lazy eyes that have already seen the content. For all of us, it's fantastic for me and Connor to have such great, enthusiastic football fans joining us on the Bottom Bins. But yeah, it's going to be a good space, and I really think you're going to enjoy the ride that we take you on.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've always said this is a community for you, for football fans. So if you're new, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you are joining us and you've already seen us before, welcome back. So today we have a topic that we probably were too afraid to address at the time. You know, we started as a very young podcast. You know, we're young fellas, young journalists within the space, young content creators. And this was maybe a topic that we just thought was a bit too deep for us to delve into. But with the news that Mason Greenwood could be on the move from Manchester United, a potential move to Marseille on the cards, we thought It's about time now, first episode of the new format, to deep it, and let's get into it. So I'm going to pass you over to Oran. Oran's going to provide you with the details of this Mason Greenwood situation, and then we're going to have a little chat about it. Oran, over to you.
Yeah, so as Connor said, whenever this first kind of happened, and whenever different Mason Greenwood related news kind of happened when we were doing the podcast, we kind of decided as a group to take a step back from that, not put our opinions and stuff into that. And in truth, in this episode, we're not going to be putting opinions into this either, based on the scenario of Mason Greenwood, but rather on the transfer of Mason Greenwood. That's where we'd be putting our opinions into. But if we're deep into the case, so look, in January 2022, it's no secret. Mason Greenwood, the Manchester United forward, was arrested and charged with attempted rape, assault, and coercive behaviour. Everybody's seen the Instagram pictures, videos, and audio clips that were shared to a specific Instagram account, which was believed to be in relation to Mason Greenwood. He was dropped from all sponsorship deals and from Manchester United, and they cited that an internal investigation was ongoing. In February 2023, the prosecutors dropped all charges against Mason Greenwood. So there was no more criminal charges against Mason Greenwood. With no return to, but however, he didn't return to Manchester United, and in the summer of 2023, he was loaned to Getafe. So that was Greenwood's first football in over a year and a half. Last year at Getafe, from a footballing aspect, he was exceptional in the Liga. He made 33 appearances, 8 goals, 6 assists, and even got the club's Player of the Year. The club did want to sign him on a permanent deal, however, the financial aspect just wasn't there for Getafe. From a footballing aspect, from a Manchester United aspect, the player's only 22 years of age. He's still got such a high potential of football ability to reach. And as Connor said, Olympique Marseille in the French division, they've agreed a £26 million deal for Mason Greenwood, including add-ons. And that would have a hefty 50% sell-on clause for Manchester United. Now, on the financial aspect, Connor, whenever we think about the Mason Greenwood that we've seen break into the first team, contribute so many goals and assists, he was touted as the next big thing for England. £26 million, it mightn't sound too much. This is a player with, as new Marseille manager Roberto De Zerbi said, world-class potential. 26 million mightn't sound too much. 50% sell-on clauses where it's at for Manchester United, in my opinion. There's only 1 year left in his deal. What do you think about the financial aspect of that potential deal in Marseille?
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Oran. I think there's a lot to consider here, specifically when we're speaking about this transfer. I think from Greenwood's perspective, it'll be good for him to probably get out of England. He's already explored that possibility by going to Spain last year. Had a great season with Getafe, as you rightly said. Picked up Getafe's Player of the Season. 26 million sounds quite low. Coming at it purely from the football perspective here, and not looking at the outside situation. This is a very talented footballer. This is a footballer that's great with both feet, both right and left. A thunderous shot, very quick, very technical on the ball. Made a big impact at Manchester United when he broke into the first team. Was probably United's starting right winger around the time that these allegations presented themselves. So for Greenwood himself, as I've already alluded to, it's good for him to get out of the country. The price, 26 million, it is pretty low for a player who, as you've rightly pointed out, the ceiling is massive with the likes of a Mason Greenwood. There's the potential there to be one of the better finishers in world football. However, that 50% sell-on clause, if he was to absolutely go out to Marseille, bang goals in left, right and centre, and say, possibly a Juventus or a Barcelona or a Real Madrid or somebody of that stature was to come in for him, Man United would probably be recouping at least another 26 million on top of what Greenwood is being sold for. So all in all, United could, with the correct sale and with Greenwood's career going in the correct direction, I think United could end up somewhere in the region of 55 to 60 million pounds in regards to Mason Greenwood.
Yeah, I agree. And look, as you say, you make brilliant points there. For United, it makes sense, especially considering the baggage. We need every club in the world would have signed Mason Greenwood 3 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Everybody has to consider the baggage now that's going to come with it. People's opinions that's going to come with it, journalists' opinions, supporters' opinions, activist opinions. All of them have to be considered now whenever you go for a deal with Mason Greenwood. For Manchester United, I feel it makes sense. Just get him out of the country, get him off the books. Kind of good riddance. Do you know what I mean? £26 million. Yeah, it's probably a lot less than his in terms of ability, his market value. I'd say his market value in terms of everything else has decreased. But I think it's a good deal for Marseille. Roberto De Zerbi, he had his first press conference yesterday. He said, much like what I just said there, everything has to be considered when going for Mason Greenwood. He said it's not done yet, but he said when he's a member of the team, he'll defend him like his own son. So from the manager's mouth himself, he obviously wants Mason Greenwood to be part of his team, part of his new setup at Marseille. This is difficult because this is where the opinions come in. So the Marseille mayor has come out with a statement last night, and I'm going to read this off my notes here because I don't want to get anything wrong, and I want to quote it from the source. So this isn't from me, this is from the Marseille mayor, okay? So he's labelled this transfer a disgrace. He's called Mason Greenwood a wife beater, and he says, quote, "The club will be covered in shame of someone who hits his wife." He said then that he's going to contact the Olympique de Marseille president to cancel the deal because he doesn't want the club or the city to be tainted with this transfer. What do you think that? What impact could that have on the player, let alone the club?
I mean, it's a big statement to come out from somebody who clearly has political influence and political power. I'm not necessarily sure if he has anything to do with Marseille Football Club. So, I mean, from that aspect, does it really change the football club's perspective on this transfer? I'm not quite sure. I think that's probably a question for those higher ups at Marseille. For Greenwood himself, though, I look, when something like this happens, there is a label that you're going to be branded with, and we've seen it with footballers in the past. If you can remember, Oran, back to Ched Evans,
Yeah.
he suffered a lot of abuse from fans, from activists, from different people within the football media. Look, this is just something that is going to stick with Mason Greenwood for the remainder of his career. Now, in terms of the Manchester United perspective as well, Oren, I think it's important that this new ownership come in and they took an immediate stance on this situation. It's like you've already pointed out, Oren, and I couldn't word it any better myself. It is baggage, and it's baggage that Manchester United don't necessarily need right now. I wouldn't say that we're in turmoil as such, but we have a new ownership coming in. We have a new structure within the football club. Erik ten Hag's job was really on the line until he got the FA Cup win. This is a player that Manchester United needed to move, and they needed to get him off the books. And there were a lot of supporters groups that were anti-Mason Greenwood, and there was a lot of talk when Ratcliffe came in that this situation would indeed take another investigation. And I don't think that's what the club needed to do. I think they needed to just draw a line under the situation, make their decision, and it seems as though their decision is to move forward with this transfer and to send Mason Greenwood to Marseille.
Yeah, fully agree. Fully agree. Look, for Manchester United, we've said 26 million. It's probably not his market value as a player. However, when we think about, especially what's came into the Premier League at the minute, the profit and sustainability rules. Manchester United are apparently on the threshold, according to The Athletic, and everybody sees, and every football fan sees Fabrizio Romano's news, Ornstein's news in the last few weeks. We're involved with 4 or 5 different transfers here at the minute. How much do you think this 26 million of pure profit could mean to Manchester United's transfer window this season?
Look, I think this is a really, really tough situation. And I think it's a tough situation for a number of reasons. Look, as you've rightly pointed out, it is 26 million of pure profit for Manchester United. This is a player that came through the academy, didn't cost anything to buy. And now that's going to be 26 million worth of profit that United can hopefully reinvest into the squad this summer. We're seeing links for other players as well. You know, there's talks that Jadon Sancho is on Juventus's radar, £40 million. So that's going to be a roughly around a 30 million deficit for that transfer. Casemiro reportedly speaking with Saudi clubs, and again, they're valuing Casemiro at around £70 million. I think that's what United paid for him 2 years ago, which means, you know, at least you're not losing out there. So this transfer could be very important for Manchester United. This transfer, this extra £26 million, if you will, could help United to get one or two deals over the line. Of course, very heavily linked with Joshua Zirkzee at the minute. Looks like he's going to be coming through the door. Matthias de Ligt, Lenny Yoro, Jared Branthwaite, Manuel Ugarte. These are 5 players that are going to cost, you know, roughly in and around 180 to 200 million pounds. Can United afford to go out and spend 200 million pounds this summer? I'm not quite sure. It's going to take a bit of a squad turnover, I believe. But with this Greenwood transfer, at least what you can say that comes out of this situation is that Manchester United gained £26 million of pure profit.
Yeah, I think we can both agree, as United fans, it's probably the best thing for both the club and the player to move forward in a different direction from each other.
Look, he was a player that had as you've already said, you know, a player with a very high ceiling. He really passed the eye test. You know, he was a player that was incredibly talented. I really thought he was going to, you know, hit the heights. I really, really thought Mason Greenwood was going to be a really, really top player. You know, the same way that maybe Man City fans covet the likes of a Phil Foden, I believe that Manchester United fans were going to be able to say the same about a Mason Greenwood. It's unfortunate the way the situation has panned out. However, you know, I think the most important thing for us to put across is, you know, that ultimately the club had to do what was best for them. And, you know, the old saying goes, not one player is bigger than the football club. And I think, you know, when we look at Erik ten Hag's track record, you know, got rid of Ronaldo, who possibly thought he was bigger than the club, and now drawn a line under this Mason Greenwood situation. And I believe that for Manchester United fans, this was probably the best possible outcome.
Yeah, totally agree, man. Totally agree.
Yes, I think that's going to do it for this one, folks. Thank you very much for joining us on our first episode back. Now, the way this new format is going to work, folks, is we're not strictly sticking to a schedule where, you know, there's going to be, you know, 1 or 2 videos a week. What we will try to do is we're going to try our absolute best to get you 2 videos a week on YouTube. And really, Oran, I think you would agree with me, you know, we don't just want to be talking about, you know, things that maybe aren't necessarily interesting. We have some ideas for videos that we have some interviews that we're looking to bring to you guys, but at the minute, Oran, I think it's just about trying to get back into the swing of things. I think you'd probably agree with me.
Yeah, getting back into the swing of things, you know, before we came live here, me and Connor both said how nervous we were to get back into this kind of format again, and you know, it's going to take us a while to get back into it if we're being realistic. You know, we've both been away from that space for so long, and you know, Connor as well have been away from that space, and we've got the new faces coming in that, you know, they need broken in as well if we're being totally honest. But fair play to them, they're active, they want to be involved, and we know you're going to love hearing from them as well. Gives us a different opinion as well to different topics that we'll be debating. If you have anything you want us to talk about or you want our opinions on, send it to us. You know, we'll be looking at different threads on Twitter and stuff to try and inform our content and try and gauge a topic of discussion for our content. So if you have anything in particular that you want us to talk to us about it. And as Connor says, we've loads of good interviews coming up in the pipeline anyway. You know, we've got local players, we've got professional players, we've players who signed professional deals and, you know, it didn't work out for them, how it impacted them. We've got a new series called How Football Saved Me, where we're going to talk to somebody who suffered from racial abuse on the football pitch. and somebody who suffered from a different kind of abuse on the football pitch and off the football pitch, but how football was an escape for him. So look, we've got good content coming up, and we really think you're going to enjoy it. So please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share it everywhere, share it with everybody that you can. Let's try and get the bottom bins to new heights this year. By December this year, we just hit 400 followers on Instagram. We want to hit 1,000 by Christmas. You can help us do that. So share it, please.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, like we've already said, folks, welcome back. We really hope that you're going to enjoy the content that's coming towards you. Like I said, there's plenty of series that we have in the pipeline at the minute. Thank you for listening. And as always, keep it bottom bins.
Keep it bottom bins.